Jesus, I surrender all to Him. I freely give. I will ever love and trust Him in His presence daily.
The 20th of December 1912, Volume 11. Jesus gives everything He owns to one who lives in the divine will, so as not to deny anything to Himself. There are no judgments for the soul who lives in His will, rather she has the right to judge. Difference between the divine will and His love. It seemed that during these past days my always adorable Jesus wanted to speak about His will. He came, said a few words, and then went away. I remember that once He told me, "My daughter, I feel the obligation to give my virtues, my beauty, my strength to one who lives in my will. In a word, everything that I am. If I did not give it to her, I would deny it to myself." Another time, as I was reading about how terrible the judgment is and remaining very saddened, my sweet Jesus told me, "My daughter, why do you want to sadden me?" And I do not intend to sadden you but myself. And He, don't you want to understand that displeasures, sadness, and anything else that a soul who does my will may suffer fall upon me, and I feel as though they were mine? I can say to one who does my will, "Laws are not for you, there are no judgments for you." Rather, one who does my will, instead of being judged, acquires the right to judge others. Then He added, "The good will of the soul in doing good is power over my heart. This power exercises so much hold on me that through its play it forces me to give her whatever she wants." I was thinking, what does Jesus like the most, love or His will? And Jesus, "My will must come before everything. Look at yourself. You have a body and a soul. You are made of intelligence, flesh, bones, nerves. But you are not of cold marble. You also contain heat. Therefore the soul, the intelligence, the body, the flesh, the bones and the nerves must be my will, and the heat you contain is love. Look at the flame, the fire. The flame, the fire must be my will, while the heat produced by the flame and fire is love. Therefore in all things the substance must be my will, the effects love. Both of them are so connected together that one cannot be without the other. So the more substance of my will the soul contains, the more love she produces. End of the reading. The 20th of December 1925, Volume 18. The Tears of Jesus. How He shed the tears of all creatures. To live in the divine will means to possess it as one's own. I was thinking of the tears that baby Jesus shed at His birth, and I said to myself, how bitter these tears must have been for Him. How they must have now frozen, now burned that tender face. In fact, from what I know, tears have two effects, depending on the reason for which they are shed. If their cause comes from love, they burn and make one sob. If then they are produced by sorrow, they are ice cold and make one shiver. For my royal little baby, there was intense and infinite love and endless sorrow. So His tears must have cost Him very much. Now, while I was thinking about this, my sweet Jesus moved in my interior and showed His face wet with tears, but so many that one flowed after the other to the point of wetting His chest and His hands. And sighing, He said to me, "My daughter, my tears began from the very first instant of my conception in the womb of my celestial Mama up to my last breath on the cross. the will of my celestial Father entrusted to me also the task of tears, and I was to shed so many of them from my eyes, for as many as all creatures together would shed. Just as I conceived all of their souls within me, so was I to shed all of their tears from my eyes. See then how much I had to cry. I had to shed from my eyes the tears which creatures shed out of passion, so that mine might extinguish their passions. I had to shed the tears which are needed after sin, to give them the sorrow for having offended me and the conviction of the evil they had done, preparing with my tears the resolution not to offend me any more. I had to shed the tears in order to move souls to compassion, to make them comprehend the pains of my passion. And I also shed abundant tears of love, in order to electrify souls to love me, to draw their sympathy and their hearts all for me. It is enough to tell you that there is not one tear that arises on the human eye which I did not shed from my eyes. No one knew of my many tears, of my much crying, hidden and secret. How many times, even as a tender child, I flew from earth up to heaven, and leaning my little head upon the knees of my celestial Father, I cried and cried, and sobbing I said to him, "My Father, you see, I am born in the world to tears and to sorrow, just like my brothers, who are born to tears and die amidst crying. And I love these brothers so much that I want to shed all of their tears from my eyes. Not even one do I want to let escape, so as to give to their tears, tears of love, of sorrow, of victory, of sanctification, and of divinization." How many tears my dear mamma, in looking at me, was pierced, in seeing me all wet with crying, and because of the pain of seeing me cry, she united her tears to mine, and we cried together. And sometimes I was forced to hide myself, to give vent to crying, so as not to always pierce her maternal and innocent heart. Other times I waited for the moment when my celestial mamma, out of necessity, had to occupy herself with housework, to give vent to my tears, in order to complete the number of tears of all creatures. On hearing this, I said to him, "My love, Jesus, so your eyes have shed also my tears, as well as those of our first father Adam. And I want you to pour them upon my soul, to give me the grace, not only to do your most holy will, but to possess it as my own thing and my own will." At that moment, Jesus shook his head, and from his face tears flowed onto my poor soul, and he added, "Daughter of my will, indeed I shed your tears, so that as they would pass through my eyes, I might give you the gift of my will. That which Adam could not receive with his tears, even though they too pass through my eyes, you can receive. In fact, before sinning, Adam possessed my will, and with the possession of my will, he grew in the likeness of his Creator. And he grew so much as to form the enchantment of all heaven, and all felt honoured in serving him. After sin, he lost the possession of my will, and even though he wept over his fault and he sinned no more, he was able to do my will but not to possess it, because the divine offended one was missing, who was to form the new divine graft between the creature and the Creator, in order to let him cross again the thresholds of the possessions of the eternal volition. This graft was made by me, eternal Word, after 4,000 years, when Adam had already passed on to the thresholds of eternity. But in spite of this divine graft done by me with tears and sighs and unheard of pains, how many reduced themselves to the conditions of Adam after sin, merely doing my will. Others do not want to know it. Others rebel against it. Only one who lives in my will rises to the state of Adam innocent, before falling into sin. In fact, there is great distance between those who do my will and those who possess it. The same distance which passes between Adam innocent and Adam after sin. And I, in coming upon earth, was to act as God. I was to complete the work of man in everything. I was to raise him to the first point of his origin by giving him the possession of my will. And even though many make use of my coming as remedy for their salvation, and therefore take my will as medicine, as strength, and as antidote, in order not to go to hell, I will wait still, that souls may arise who take it as life, and by making it known they may take possession of it. In this way I will complete the work of my coming upon earth, and the divine graft formed anew with the creature will have fruit. Then will my tears turn into celestial and divine smiles for me and for them. End of the reading. The 20th of December, 1936, Volume 34. The divine fiat made the Virgin conceived in each creature, so that everyone would have a mother completely his own. Dowry that God gave to the Virgin. Triumphs and victories of God, victories and triumphs of the Virgin, in which all creatures are provided with a dowry. My highest good Jesus holds me as immersed in the great prodigy of the Sovereign Queen, and it seems that he has the will of wanting to tell what God operated in this great lady, and composing himself to feast, and with indescribable joy, he tells me, "Listen to me. Here follows the same argument of what was written before, my blessed daughter. The prodigies are unheard of. The surprises that I will narrate to you will astonish everyone. I feel the need of love to make known what thing we have done with this celestial mother, and the great good that all the generations have received. Therefore you must know that in the act of conceiving this Holy Virgin, our divine will that possesses everything, and with its immensity embraces everything, and possesses the all-seeingness of all the possible and imaginable beings, with its virtue all its own, that when it operates it always does universal work, as she was therefore conceived, with its creative virtue it called all creatures to be conceived in the heart of this Virgin. But it was not enough for our love. Giving into the most incredible excesses, it made this Virgin conceived in every creature, so that each one would have a mother to himself, all his. They would feel her maternity in the depth of their souls, her love that while she holds them more than children, conceived in herself, by locating herself, she conceives herself in every creature, in order to place herself at their disposition, so as to raise them, guide them, free them from dangers, and with her maternal power feed them the milk of her love and the food with which she nourishes herself, that is, the divine fiat. Our will, having free life in her, its total dominion with its power, it called everything into this celestial creature, in order to have the joy of seeing every one contained in her, in order to hear her say, "They are already all in me, my and your children, therefore I love you for everyone." Then she bilocated herself in everyone, and in each one, in order to make felt in every soul the love of this daughter of ours, all beautiful and all love. We can say there is no creature in whom she does not take the pledge of loving us. Our fiat elevated her so much as to give everything to her, and even from the first instant of her life, we constituted her Queen of our fiat, Queen of our love. And when she loved us, her maternity was felt in her love, and it harmonized with the love of all creatures. And oh, how beautiful it was that she formed of everything one single love. how she wounded us, felicitated us, even to feeling ourselves languish. Her love disarmed us. It made us see all created things, sky, sun, earth, seas and creatures, covered and hidden in her love. Oh, how beautiful it was to see her, feel her, that she acted as mother in every creature, and forming in them her sea of love, she sent her notes, her arrows, her loving darts to her Creator. And acting as true mother, she brought them to us, even to before our throne, in the sea of her love, in order to make us look at them, so as to render us favourable. And with the strength of our divine volition, she imposed herself over us. She placed them in our arms. She made us caress and kiss them, and she made us give surprising graces. How many sanctities were formed and impetrated by this celestial mother, and in order to be sure, her love remained to watch. In addition to this, you must know that even from the first instant of the life of this celestial creature, so much was our love that we provided her with a dowry of all our divine qualities, such that she held as dowry our power, wisdom, love, goodness, light, beauty, and all the rest of our divine qualities. Already for all creatures, in placing them to the light of day, we give the dowry. No one is born if he is not provided with a dowry by his Creator. But since they broke away from our will, one can say that they do not even know it. On the other hand, this Holy Virgin never broke away. She made perennial life in the interminable seas of our fiat. Therefore she grew together with our attributes. And as she formed her acts in our divine qualities, so she formed seas of power, of wisdom, of light, and of others. We can say that living with our science, we give her continuous lessons on who her Creator was. She grew in our knowledges, and she knew so much about the Supreme Being that not one angel or saint could reach her. Rather, they are all ignorant before her, because no one grew and lived together with us. She entered into our divine secrets, into the most intimate hiding places of our divine being without beginning or end, into our joys and everlasting beatitudes. And with our power that she held in her power, she dominated us and lorded over us, and we let her do it. Rather, we enjoyed her lording over us, and in order to render her happier, we gave her our chaste embraces, our smiles of love, our condescensions, telling her, do what you want. Our volition has so much love toward the creatures, and great is its desire of making them live in it, that if it obtains this, it casts her into an abyss of graces of love, even to drowning her, such that the human littleness is constrained to say, enough, I am already drowned. I feel myself devoured by your own love. I am not able to endure any more. Now you must know that our love is not content. It never says enough. However much more it can give, more it wants to give. And when we give, it is our feast. We set the table for the one who loves us, and we urge her to remain with us in order to live together. Now, my daughter, listen to another prodigy of our fiat in this celestial creature, and how she loved us and rendered her maternity extendable to all creatures. In every act that she did, if she loved, prayed, adored, if she suffered, everything, even the breath, the heartbeat, the step, being our fiat, were triumphs and victories that our Supreme Being made in the acts of the Virgin. The Celestial Lady triumphed and conquered in God in every instant of her admirable and prestigious life. They were triumphs and victories between God and the Virgin. But this is nothing. Acting as true mother, She called all her children, and she covered and hid all their acts in hers, and she covered them with her triumphs and with her victories, giving all her acts as dowry, with all her victories and triumphs. And then with a tenderness and love as to break hearts and feel ourselves conquered, she told us, "Adorable Majesty, look at them. They are all my children. My victories and triumphs are of my children. They are my conquests that I give to them. And if the mama has conquered and triumphed, the children have conquered and triumphed." And so many triumphs and victories she did in God, for however many acts all creatures would have done, such that all can say, "I am provided with a dowry by the acts of my Queen Mama, and for seal she has invested them for me with her triumphs and victories that she made with her Creator." In fact, one who wants to make himself holy finds the dowry of his celestial mother and her triumphs and victories in order to arrive at the greatest sanctity. The weak one finds the strength of the sanctity of his mama and her triumphs in order to be strong. The afflicted, the suffering one, finds the gift of the sufferings of his celestial mama in order to obtain the triumph, the victory of resignation. The sinner finds the victory and the triumph of pardon. In sum, everyone finds in this sovereign queen the dowry, the support, the help for the state in which they find themselves. And oh, how beautiful it is! It is the most moving scene, enrapturing and enchanting, to see this celestial mother in every creature that she acts as mama. We feel that she loves and prays in her children. This is the greatest prodigy among heaven and earth, greater good we could not give to the creatures. Now, my daughter, I must tell you a sorrow of the celestial mother. To so much love of hers, the ingratitude of creatures. This dowry that with so many sacrifices, even to the heroism of the sacrifice of the life of her Son God, with so many atrocious sufferings, some do not know it. Some hardly take a small interest, and they live poor in sanctity. And oh, how she suffers in seeing her children poor. To possess immense riches of love, of grace, of sanctity, because they are not material riches, but the riches of this celestial mother are riches that she has placed her life in order to acquire for them, and not to see them possessed by her children, and to hold them without the purpose for which she had acquired them, is a continuous sorrow. And therefore she wants to make this great good known to everyone, because if it is not known, it cannot be possessed. And since she acquired these dowries in virtue of the divine fiat that reigned in her, that loved her so much that it let her do what she wanted, and anywhere she would want to reach for the good of creatures, so it will be my reigning divine volition that will make them aware of these celestial dowries and will let them take possession. Therefore pray that a good so great be known and wanted by creatures. End of the reading. There are no more readings today. Have a blessed day.